Korean demilitarized zone, nearly 2 million soldiers still face each other, ready for war at any time. The DMZ was described by President Clinton as the scariest place on earth. In 1950, Korea experienced at firsthand the brutal realities of the Cold War, a clash of ideologies that would devastate the peninsula and divide it to this day. The Korean War was one of the most vicious of the 20th century. An estimated 4 million people, many of them civilians, were killed in 3 years of fighting. The U.S. led the support for the South, whilst the North was backed by the Red Alliance of the Soviet Union and newly communist China. Hostilities ended with Korea still split along the 38th parallel, but a peace treaty has never been signed. The Korean War became known in the West as the Forgotten War. In North Korea, it is the victorious Fatherland Liberation War. The war left an indelible stain on the psyche of both sides. In North Korea, the indiscriminate bombing and tales of atrocities by the U.S. were seen as examples of the aggressive and criminal nature of U.S. imperialism. In the West, counter-stories of atrocities on civilians and mistreatment of prisoners of war was proof of the evils of communism. The gruesome experience of Korea confirmed to many in the U.S. that the spread of communism was to be prevented at all costs. The Korean War, still fresh in everyone's memories, had to all intents and purposes never ended. South Korea was a desperately poor country, struggling to rebuild after the devastation of war. For GIs, there was little variety during non-duty hours. Most invariably spent their time in local villages, where the entertainment was aimed at Americans with dollars to spend.
They all had a girlfriend down in the ville, and these little ladies of the night would entertain them at any time. So their big thing was get off duty and get down to the village.
In Last Chance Village, across the river, there were more women than we had men in our entire battalion. There were more prostitutes. The commanding general in our welcoming speech from him said, look at the man on your left, now look at the man on your right. He says, those two men are going to have VD before they leave Korea. Which was about right. That's what the VD rate was running.
As hellish as North Korea looks from the outside to folks now, the demonization of the place back then was so complete that to make that leap was just, it's inconceivable.
North Korea was viewed by the U.S. as a puppet of the Soviet Union. The country was led by a revolutionary who was committed to reunifying Korea, by force if necessary. Here he was known and revered as Comrade Kim Il-sung, the great leader. His presence was everywhere. Kim Il-sung declared that the U.S. was the illegal occupier of South Korea and the sworn enemy of the Korean people. Dresnak was isolated and in the hands of a people unswerving in their hatred of the U.S. He was surrounded by anti-American imagery. Nothing here resembled the life he had left behind.
Everything I could, learning the language, learning the customs, learning their greetings, their life, their revolutionary history, their lofty virtues about the great leader. I studied most of the Workers' Party's policies. Regular studies the same as a Korean. They would be completely responsible for our life. And the one thing I really accepted was Man is the master of his life. I agreed with this version of the Juche ideal. This was rather touching. Little by little, I become to understand the Korean people. I still remember the arduous march. Because of the sanctions and blockation of the American government and the Japanese, these thousands, I think, are hundreds of thousands of Korean people died from starvation. Now, I know what you're going to ask me. You're going to ask me, how was my life during that time? And I'm going to tell you the truth. My life has never changed since I've been in the DPRK. The Korean people starved to death, but I got my rice rations, 800 grams a day, every day the same. When I eat my rice, I think about the people who died, who starved to death, but yet they fed me.
I always thought if I could get over that.